Hi guys, I'm Mike and this is F1 Fanatics. Welcome back to the channel, guys, and we have a familiar face in Mark. Well, maybe not a familiar face because
No,
I
not a
believe
familiar
this is
face at
the first
all.
time on camera on the channel,
Mm.
mate. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. And you?
Yeah, very well, thank you, mate. And obviously, it's feeder series video today, so obviously had to talk to you about it. And one of your feeder loves in Teo Pache's had a very good season. But yes, this is the F3 season review. So we're going to be kind of talking about the top three title contenders, and then we'll talk about the drivers, basically highs and lows of the seasons, and who has kind of stood out to us, and what has to be said, mate, was an absolutely fantastic season for F3.
Amazing. I'd actually say this season was better than last.
There was some incredible races and some brilliant surprise performers. Certainly, I think in F3 and F2, MP Motorsport have definitely thrown up a few
Yeah,
surprises for positives and negatives as well, I suppose, probably. But yeah, no, I suppose the only place to get this F3 season preview review started is with Oscar Piastri, Teo Pacher, and Logan Sargent, the three who would go into the last weekend with a shot at winning the title. Obviously, your Australian, another native Australian, Oscar Piastri, won his F3 championship
he did
in his
indeed.
rookie season. So, pretty impressive season for Oscar, wasn't it?
It was. It was really impressive. And also considering the mechanical faults he had along the way, amazing consistency along the way, and that's what probably sealed it for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a worthy winner.
Worthy, yeah, definitely worthy. There are, yeah, worthy, but I think there was some. I think the second place driver, if you exclude the first round, deserved it more.
Okay. Well, obviously, we got the case. Oscar was driving for Prema, and Logan Sargent, the other one in this top three, also drives for Prema. If you obviously watched the video that me and Mark did at the start of the season, talking through F3 teams, you will understand that obviously that Prema are
Are the top
basically
dog.
dominant in F3.
They are the top dogs.
Yeah, they are the Mercedes of Formula 3 essentially,
Yeah,
and basically kind of wipe the floor with competition. And it's a very rare situation. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong on this, George Russell was the last driver to win Formula 3 who didn't drive Prema.
you are correct.
There we go. Look, I've pulled that one out the top of my head from there. That was obviously for ART, who was the team as second placed. Teo Pacher, but I'm sure we'll get onto your Teo loving. I've got to try and hold you off as much as possible because I know you
Hey, you
just
brought up his name before I did. My hands are
that
up
is
there.
certainly true. That is certainly true. We'll obviously talk about that. But yeah, Oscar, obviously, Logan Sargent had a season's experience in F3. Frederick Vesti also had won a championship beforehand coming in to series. So he was very highly regarded. You have to be signed by Prema as a
I
rookie.
mean, but someone definitely picked up on the fact he wasn't the favourite in the Prema battle.
You did.
Someone definitely picked that up.
Yep. No, you certainly did. You certainly did. But yeah, Oscar, I I think obviously the F2 guys in Christian Lundgaard and Guan Yu Zhao in the Renault Academy, but with how things plan out, it could very much being part of the Renault Academy. Oscar Piastri, well, this is one of his main steps on the ladder up to potentially being a Formula One driver. And, sometimes you just need to get the job done. And especially in that last race, the pressure was on. He proved when the chips were down that he had what it took to kind of get the
Yeah.
job done.
And with Renault desperate to have a partner team, as they've said multiple times that they don't care that they lost McLaren because what they wanted was a partner team, it's not a bad time to be a Renault Junior, especially with how Ocon is performing.
No, not the worst one in the world. And if Alonso doesn't come off shape, he has obviously been interviewed saying that he's only in F1 for 2 years. So
Hmm.
if Renault aren't competitive in 2 years, Fernando Alonso will be retiring from Formula One at the end of those 2 years there. So it especially feels like in 2022, there will probably be at least one seat available.
Oh,
It has to be said from that. So I imagine the youngsters are definitely very excited by that prospect of.
with how Zhao is performing of late, I would say the battle is between Piastri and Longard.
I would most likely imagine that will be the situation. And, they'll probably go head to head with each other, as I imagine this will see all the top three promoted to Formula 2 for next season.
Oh, possibly. I actually could see Logan going off to do Indy Lights instead. Personally,
Be very interesting.
that
Obviously,
is my pick.
being
I actually
American
see
born,
Logan
that is the
doing.
natural path for Americans to go. But yeah, it would be very interesting to see. I think he may have done enough to convince someone to give him an F3 seat, but F2 seat. But we'll come to that when we talk about Logan. But I've held you off long enough, mate. P2 in the championship. Teo Pourchaire obviously had won every championship he'd entered previous to this, and
And
F3
came
in his rookie
damn
season.
close to winning this one.
Absolutely, I was about to say that. So damn close, and
And the fact
oh
is, if it wasn't for the first round, he would have won it as well.
yeah, he
He
scored
was the
no
top
hits.
point scorer from round two onwards,
Mm.
which is
And
just insane.
I remember that first round in Austria, and he just looked to struggle, not struggled a bit, but he was learning to adapt to the car. But
And adapt he did.
that is the crazy thing I want to say about Teo in terms of he just adapted so quickly, and it got to obviously round three of the championship, and for me, the standout individual performance of the season was that victory in the rain in the feature race at Hungary. And what did he win by the end? It was 12 or 13 seconds, was it?
13 seconds.
13
13
seconds.
in a spec series in a
Exactly.
car where he scored 68% of the team's points in.
I mean, that is a crazy stat. And I know
So it wasn't
obviously
even like people may look like he was in the second best car. No, he was maybe in the fourth best.
I definitely feel like obviously that high tech and Liam Lawson and well HWA Race Labs and former Jake Hughes wasn't a bad car either. To be
Trident,
fair,
Trident built
oh,
had an absolute banger this year.
they did obviously with David Beckman as well, Zendelli. Well, actually, I think probably yeah. Liam Zendelli and obviously Beckman were both finished within the top eight. And I think that's the only other team to have drivers finish in the top eight other than Prema, who were expected
Yeah,
to have
so
all
he
three.
wasn't in a dominant car. Well, we say
Mm,
dominant car; it is a spec series, but he wasn't in the dominant team. Is probably the
mm.
best way to.
Yeah,
Because the
because
team does make.
obviously, yeah, obviously with this, the setup is so key and the way that those teams go in, why you've got a team like Prema who do dominate F3 is they just know that series inside out. They know the tracks inside out. They know the best setups and they can adapt to drivers really damn quickly and get them the best, set up for them to achieve what they want to, which is winning the series and for Prema winning
Yeah,
the Constructors' Championship that year. So for Teo to do what he did in that ART this year, like I said, 68% of ART's points, that is so damn impressive.
it is. And once again, I've said this before. If you exclude the first round, where I think Piastri scored, I want to say 28 points, I believe.
I've got it. It should be, he got a first and an eighth.
So that would be 28 points, I
Mm.
believe. 28 points, and Porsche lost by 3.
Yep.
Porsche would have dominated, actually.
Dominated, maybe not. Well, I know obviously it depends what you define as dominated on points, but I
It would have.
definitely feel like he would have had a better shot at that title rather than an
If
outside
we
shot.
exclude the first
Yeah.
round, won the title on points.
Now, which it is so impressive. But I suppose what you have to, because some people might say, obviously looking at ART in their history in F2 in terms of they tend to favour one of their drivers, because Marcus Armstrong isn't as poor as what he's let on.
Yeah. But what I will say is it's not the same in F3. F3 is very much.
What I was going to bring up.
It's very different. If the sponsors and the people who bought the seat found out they were getting shortchanged, no, it wouldn't. It doesn't happen as bad. It may happen slightly, but nowhere near as bad. I mean, you saw how late ART waited to tell Fernandez and Smoiler behind that it was Teo coming up. They waited to the last possible moment. Well, you saw Prema told Vesti basically the moment he overtook. The next car saying, okay, the car behind you is Piastri, let him by. Very much. So it's very different as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the talent of Teo Pourchaire is there to see. And obviously you hyped him up before the season and he certainly did not disappoint in the season. And for me, Oscar Piastri and Teo Pourchaire will be racing in F2 guaranteed next year, which will be fantastic to see how they develop over the course of that season.
I know you're a fan of Teo's Hungary feature race, but for me, which just slid up, I knew he was special. I've been raving on about him since early last year. I've been raving on about him since before F4 ADAC. Or RDRC, as a few will say. But the drive for me, which showed how special he is, was the sprint race in Monza.
Yeah, that was a pretty damn good, impressive performance. Obviously, for those of you
started ninth.
Who didn't, he would started 8th, was it?
9th, because he finished 2nd.
He started 9th, progressed up to...
In 3 laps, he made it up to 4th. Then he went into the gravel, fell to 20th, and then finished 3rd.
I mean, that sprint race was chaotic anyway. There was plenty that happened within it, but it was a brilliant race to see. I mean, Monza was brilliant all weekend. That was a fantastic week for Formula racing, F1, 2, and 3. But yeah, it was hugely impressive from Teo Pourchaire, and I can't wait to see him race in F2 next year, basically.
Interesting theory. Him being a Sauber junior, do you think we could see him in the young drivers test?
Potential. There is potential, because I'm not sure how many are linked to the Sauber program anymore, because obviously we had one Manuel Carrere, didn't we? But obviously for obvious reasons, he is not racing. We had Tatiana Calderon,
who's no
exactly. So is there any guys in F2 apart?
There's only 4.
Well, then Teo surely has a great shot of getting a test in an F1 in that young...
Just a bit more than Teo. I think this is just an idea of how special he is. So we all know the super license, right? Anyone who follows feeder series or knows a bit more about F1 than the usual fan knows about the super license. You know, the 40-point system they introduced to stop kids under the age of 18 getting in F1 cars like a certain Max Verstappen did. And then you have 17-year-old Teo Pourchaire who already has 40 points.
Yeah. I mean, that's incredible. When you go and think about that, that is incredible, isn't it? How quickly he's accumulated those points. And we could easily see him, I mean...
Go to 80.
Naturally, when is his birthday? Could he start an F1 season when he's 18, technically?
Yes, he could.
Because I imagine if he does the same in F2, he'll be snapped up by someone, no doubt.
Surely. And honestly, my pick, if he was snapped up, if Sauber don't hold on to him with an iron graph saying, you're not leaving us, you're our replacement for Kimi. Actually, that would not be a bad shout if Kimi stays on for another year.
Would be very interesting. Very interesting
Very.
indeed. Look at these throwing kind of driver market rumors in there as well. We don't know, but I think he has certainly proven that this year, if he carries on that level at F2, which we've got no reason to believe he wouldn't, he is one of the hot prospects in the junior series as it currently stands.
Definitely proved he's F. Dare I say now? Can I say he's F1 worthy? I know you didn't like me saying it at the start of the year, but can I now say he's probably F1 worthy?
I will. I still don't know whether we.
Hey, Max finished second in F3.
Yeah, that's very true. And Max probably wasn't F1 ready when he went into the sport.
But according to the FIA, Taylor was F1 ready.
That is very true. That is very true. Look, Teo, I think he is destined. I will give you that. This is what you'll get from me. I think he is destined to be in Formula One.
Thank you.
Right. So we'll move on to Logan Sargent, the runner-up, and probably the most disappointed out of the three because
he
you
had a
go
year
ahead.
experience. He should have finished second. But I did predict what would happen in the final race, by the way, if anyone was me. Like you said to a friend in the tweet, I've got a feeling Sargent's going to end up in the gravel in this sprint race.
He's unlucky.
I've had some amazing premonitions about this F3 season.
You have indeed, but I thought, especially in that season finale, he was unlucky. It has to be said.
He was, but he also pushed his luck a bit too much as well.
It's always going to be the case, I think, in these situations, and with so many cars in F3, those sprint races always run the risk because as soon as you get into the pack, especially in a more narrower circuit round Mugello,
the Monza sprint race, that was stupid.
Yeah.
He knew Piastri had retired. All he had to do was just stay behind Vesti. And he would have taken the championship lead. It
will be something that I imagine you're probably right. From where Logan Sargent looks at this championship and where he lost it, it would probably be looking at that Monza sprint race and going, if I just got the job done there, finished there, taking advantage of Oscar Piastri not being there, because at that chance, Teo Pacher probably would have finished third, still marginally impressive. And, Logan would have had a little bit more of a buffer and all the pressure would have been on Oscar. Well, I imagine Oscar probably felt boosted by the fact that Logan hadn't taken advantage of, him as his title rival, DNF.
I mean, we're on Sargent, so should we talk about the other Prema drivers as well and knock all three out?
We will, but we'll talk about Logan a little bit more. So obviously, I did say that I think all three are destined for F2. I think he's had an impressive season. For Carlin, obviously, Carlin never quite got it right last year. He's gone into the Prema. See, he probably should have been favourite to win the championship with the year's experience under his belt.
I don't know who called Piastri versus Sargent with Piastri just taking it. I don't know who said, I reckon it's going to be a battle between Piastri and Sargent, but I reckon Piastri will get it in the end.
Yes, you can get off your gloating horse. You can look at you. Look, this is the problem. Someone needs to, stop you being right on these things. You're insufferably smug at times. But yeah, for Logan, for me, I do think he's proven, though he hasn't scored the championship, though he may have been favourite, there has been really strong performances from him. He hasn't converted enough poles because his pole positions actually were really impressive throughout the season. It certainly has to be said. And yeah, I think he'll have another shot at F2, but I know you think F1 maybe isn't where he'll go, but hey, mate, he's got an American flag behind him, and that
he does. But yes, Liberty would probably love it. But at F3, it's so odd to finish that high up and not have an academy attached to you. The fact
maybe he will.
What academy?
Don't know. I don't know
Red
which
Bulls,
one, but
Red
maybe
Bulls
he will.
overstuffed.
Maybe he's proven enough in this F3 season. We don't know. A lot can happen between now and the start of next year's F2 championship.
Maybe Haas will take him on, but Haas seem to have a thing against American drivers despite being an American team.
Very true. We won't bring up Alexander Rossi. I know that wound is still sore for you.
Well, I'm just saying, like, Haas, they passed up on American drivers year in, year out.
It's very
And
true.
they had a perfect opportunity to sign Sargent, but they've signed a Brazilian at two. Is it three Brazilians? Three Brazilians?
Well, they got both Fittipaldis, haven't they?
Yeah, and Delatraz, who's Swiss. Is it
Yes.
Louis Delatraz? Yeah.
He's Swiss.
No, so they seem to have, yeah. So South Americans they have, but not Americans.
No, very true. But yeah, I look, maybe, and it'll be interesting to see in this close season whether Logan Sargent does become attached. Look, I think he's clearly a talented racing driver. He clearly has pace, lots of it natural in abundance. Whether he progresses through, he will be disappointed not to have won the championship. But F2 is a whole other game. It'd be interesting to see how he adapts to that level.
Yeah, what I will say is what he has in pace, he makes down for in racecraft and race intelligence.
But that's all learned. They're all young men at this stage, and it might click in terms of F2, and we see where it comes from. It is a little bit easier with less cars on the grid within Formula 2. I think we've seen a better overall quality of racing in the Formula 2 championship from there. So it'd be interesting to see where Logan Sargent fits into that. But if not, I do think you're right. He'll end up in somewhere like Indy Lights and the IndyCar Championship going forwards, because he certainly has enough talent to be making it in America's premium single-seater series.
He does.
Right, then we'll move on to Frederick Vesti. I know you wanted to jump onto him. And for me, just to summarize quickly, the only driver to win 3 races this season. I know, obviously, I think a couple of them were sprint races and one was a feature race. But yeah, he'll be massively disappointed by the inconsistency that he showed this year.
Is massively even the right word? He was shockingly inconsistent.
Yeah.
Shockingly inconsistent.
It's a fair assessment. But it was his first year. But I suppose what you've got to say is it's your
first year is no excuse.
Oscar Piastri's won the championship. Yes, I know what you mean. So there is the prime example to kind of counter that point, because your teammate
and you can't say getting to the car because then you have to share. It took one round to get used to it.
But Frederick Vesti has shown talent this year. I think he
needs another year in F3.
That was going to be my next question, in terms of, do you think it's another year in F3, get the championship done, then move to F2?
Unfortunately, I think it's another year in F3.
I think that's fair.
It would do him good.
How old is Vesti at this stage of his
20? I want to say 20.
Let me see if I can get that up quickly. He's 18.
He's 18.
So time is on his side.
It is.
So that's not too bad. Another year in F3 wouldn't do too badly for Frederick Vesti. Look, I think he's done all right this year. It's difficult because the pressure is always going to be on you in the Prema team, and just some situations haven't fallen his way, and he adapted not as quickly as what his teammate did in Oscar Piastri, and obviously Teo did in ART, which you could say were his main rivals going into this season, or rookie rivals, should we say, certainly on that front. But yeah, look, I think if he's in F3 next year, surely he's got to be a title favourite, because he definitely had a strong finish to this season in F3.
Yes, I would say title favourite for next year if he's in the Prema.
Correct. Obviously, we all know that Prema might change up the whole thing again. But it'd be very interesting to see, certainly on that front. But yeah, Frederick Vesti, a mixed season with glimpses of brilliance, but also mass inconsistency that has. Prema should finish 1, 2, 3 in the championship, especially this year. That Prema should have done, and so he will be disappointed not to have done that. Moving on to two more experienced contenders in Lawson.
One of them experienced is an understatement.
Yes, absolutely. David Beckman is more than experienced, certainly on that front. But obviously, we spoke about it a little bit earlier in terms of Trident being a surprise package this year in terms of how well their car seemed to have done, and obviously Liam Lawson in the high tech. Now, Liam seemed to have one of those seasons where if something could go wrong, it would.
I think he was to blame for some of his wrongness.
Yeah, absolutely. He fought positions hard and he looked a guy under pressure. Because we all know what Red Bull Academy does, yeah.
I'm looking forward to talking about another Red Bull driver junior soon.
Yes, certainly is. But yeah, with Liam Lawson and David Beckman, I suppose David Beckman we should really realistically expect to be up there with the amount of experience that he has in that series and how that Trident transpired as being a very good team this year to be in. It's no surprise on that front. And Liam Lawson, again, with his experience and obviously being a talented driver himself, opportunities escaped him, but 5th in the championships, not a bad return.
No, not bad. Not bad. Is it good enough for Red Bull, though?
That would be my question. Well, the question is for Liam Lawson would be, he would have been looking to progress onto F2 next year. Has he done enough to secure that?
Well, he did better than Tsunoda. So.
He did, but he's not Japanese.
True, and well, they may have to put him into F1 next year since Red Bull seemed desperate to get rid of Kvyat.
That is very true.
And Tsunoda seems to be having problems lately.
He certainly does. But we move on to, well, HWA Race Labs and another Trident performer to round off the top 8, and that was Jake Hughes and Liram Zendelli. Liram Zendelli, a surprise package for you?
I'm not sure if you call it a surprise package, but a step under surprise, step over expected. So a bit shocked is a better word. A bit shocked to see him there. Not surprised, like, oh God, but more shocked, like, oh, that's unusual.
Yeah, with Liram, I suppose it was surprised to be there, but like we said, Trident were the real surprise package as a team this season. So he had this opportunity and he took advantage of it, and he was used to kind of then fighting at the top of the grid. And I suppose in those situations, tyre management probably let him down from converting a few more of those good positions he was in.
I would say so. It was tyre management that cost him.
But P7 ahead of him was another experienced campaigner, and that was Jake Hughes. And will Jake Hughes ever leave F3? Is probably a better question.
I think he's going to be in F3 until he gets a Formula E seat.
Yeah, I mean, I think recently I saw an article. It might have even been today recording. So we're recording this on Friday, and I think it'll go out on Saturday for you guys watching now. So, yeah, I think Jake Hughes, he knows he's not progressing any further up the ladder because he doesn't have the budget to do so, even though clearly he shows he can compete with the talent that is around him, and he's a great benchmark for those drivers around him. But yeah, I think you've seen the likes of, Alexander Sims, Sam Bird go there, James Collado go to Formula E. I think naturally someone will give him a shot in F3. I think he's probably proven enough in his time to be given an opportunity in a more competitive, senior championship that Formula E is.
Definitely, definitely.
So that kind of rounds up probably the main big performers talking about those top eight. I suppose now we probably drift into who do you reckon had good seasons? I know outside the top eight, it's a struggle to say that, but yeah, who do you reckon had good seasons?
So the hit list. We'll start off with the hit list before we move to
Okay,
other
okay, we'll
the
get the
other
ones
hit
who
list.
are massively disappointed then.
And no, we'll do the hit list first before we do the other word ending in it list.
Yeah,
So, good performers. Alexander Prodi, first of all.
I was going to say he was going to be first and top of my list, especially coming back after that horrifying incident at Monza last
Yep,
year, where he just flew and got caught in that fence. Obviously, fractured his back, didn't he? Um, yeah, horrible accident. And how he came back this year, some really standout performances for Campos, wasn't it?
yep, very good. I think that he was showing maybe he was performing a bit above the Campos.
Mm.
So yeah, definitely. Baroni, definitely maybe. Well, we can't say too much about. Well, both of his two teammates will be brought up later on. I'm sure.
Yep, in the other list, certainly.
Yep. Enzo, would you say he had a good season?
I thought Enzo did for where that car was. I think obviously Jake Hughes massively outperformed the
Oh,
HWO
easily.
Labs car, but then that's expected because of how much experience he's had in that series. But Enzo had some really good opportunities, and he was unfortunate. I felt sorry for him because it was the Monza sprint race that he actually was fighting for the lead for a while, wasn't it? And he got that rear puncture. Who was he fighting with the lead for? Was it Zendelli?
I want to say then, Delhi.
I
I want
want
to
to say
say
it.
then.
Someone will correct us in the comments below if we've got that
Hmm.
one wrong. But yeah, I thought he showed really good race performance, but he just struggled with qualifying. That he was never really in a position to be there or thereabouts
Yeah.
because you kind of just get caught in the DRS trains, don't you?
And the next one, so just we'll have three, I guess.
Mm.
Bent Viscal.
Yeah, massively. Bent Viscal. I mean, I remember doing the season preview, talking about it, and I think we did it with David as well. And Bent didn't. No, sorry, we didn't do it with David. Of course, how could I forget the F3 season preview was with Josh? You and
Oh,
Josh.
that gives you nightmares, doesn't it? Still.
Oh dear, with Genza, poor Genza, and he's surely we got to give an honourable mention, but we'll finish off with Bent Viscout. Yeah, he didn't even really come into consideration, Dutch, but he put in some really fantastic performances this year. I thought.
He did. He did. He came out as a bit of a surprise.
Hmm. Obviously, the
And if you,
Hungary race where he got the penalties obviously stopped him from getting that first race victory. But when he did get that first race victory, again, I believe this one was definitely Liram Zandelli, that fight at the end. Yeah, the sprint race in Silverstone was fantastic. And as a last lap, that was one of my favourite moments of the season. Him and Liram's wheel-to-wheel action, just the respect between the two drivers and the just brilliant fighting and desperate to kind of get that first win under their belt. It was, it was a real standout moment for Ben.
it was. It really was.
And I think what's probably important for Ben is the fact that, you know, I think realistically we can say he's not going to be fighting for the top echelons of Formula One or those type of seats.
Mm-hmm.
But those type of performances definitely can help secure his future as a racing driver, a professional one. And, sports car teams would look at him and go, you know what? Yeah, maybe we should give this kid a shot.
I definitely think you're right there. Shall we move on to the bullying list?
Oh, yeah, let's go on to the bullying list. I know you are itching to kind of get yourself stuck in here, and there are a few probably. on this list. But yeah, I'll let you kind of lead off.
Biggest disappointment for me, absolute biggest, considering where he was last year, was Dennis Hauger.
Yeah, he's
So disappointing.
14 points from the season, only 2 top 10 finishes throughout the entire season. Maybe we've seen within Awesome the high tech team wasn't quite on it, and obviously Max Futrell.
We say that, but then we have Pierre-Louis Chevet in his second round outpacing Hauger already.
Look, I was trying to maybe clutch at some sort of straws for Hauger, but it is undeniable for the Norwegian driver. It was a disappointing season, and being part of that Red Bull Academy, it's hard.
I mean, do you think Red Bull is going to look at Teo's success and then say, "Hey, this is where you were compared to him last year. Now look at this year"?
Yeah, I would say that the ART package was a better package than the high-tech package,
but not by much.
Not
a hundred. I wouldn't say it's not 150 points difference.
No. Obviously, he just couldn't find his feet at all, and just I struggle to really think of any moments from Dennis Hauger that were like, yeah, that was great for a season. And it's a shame because, like you said, he was. I know you were looking forward to it going into the season because he was very positive in his fight with Teo in the ADAC Championship, and
exactly.
Yeah, it's so disappointing that it didn't play out as planned.
Yeah, biggest disappointment for me that season. Just like, where was he? He never got a grasp of the car. Then he had then High Tech got in a replacement driver for another disappointment, who we'll talk about later. Futrell.
Well, why don't we talk about Max Futrell now? Because
I'm going to finish my Hauger point.
Well, yeah, I'll let you finish the Hauger, and then we'll go.
So the replacement for Futrell, Pierre-Louis Chevet, who is pretty bang average. He's there or thereabouts. He's not. He's quite nicely. He's going to end up as a third driver in an endurance team.
Probably fair.
Yeah,
and not in the top class.
And he was already in his second round in F3, outpacing Dennis.
I just, for whatever reason,
mid-season goes from an F4 style car or a different chassis into a new chassis. Mid-season, so he's already driving a different chassis beforehand, getting used to that all season. And in his second round, he was already outpacing Dennis.
I think something went on in that high-tech team because not like purposely, just for whatever reason, the two new guys couldn't settle in terms of Futrell and Hauger. Both obviously would have expected to have much more positive seasons than they did.
Futrell and Hauger both to be in the top 10. I expected a high-tech. I expected ART because I thought first season you can't judge ART in their first season of F3. They're a top team normally. I expected ART and High Tech and Prema to make up 9 of the top 10 spots. ART don't look like they're there yet to be a regular all three drivers in the top 10 yet. It's getting close, but it's not there yet. Same with High Tech.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know whether they did obviously prioritize more drive, but even if they prioritized drivers, Hauger and Futrell, the seasons just fell apart, and they just couldn't get anything from the season. And it was massively disappointing for Max Futrell that he didn't even finish the F3 season campaign.
No, should we talk about a Campos driver now?
Yes, let's.
Should we talk about the Campos driver everyone expected to do bad and did do bad? The Campos driver everyone expected to be better, but was bad and then made it worse for themselves.
I think we should probably talk about Sophia, because De Leder isn't really
Carefully here, Mike.
Because he did exactly what we expected him to do.
Yeah. Then we have Sophia, who we have to tread carefully here, don't we?
Look, Sophia
Hey,
has
be careful what you say. Sophia may yell at you on Twitter.
True. Sophia is openly be controversial, shall we say. She is definitely a polarizing character who gives strong feelings either way, is probably the safest to go. Obviously, it was her first full season in F3 after that accident at Macau, which obviously was a very scary incident. And obviously, we have to say that, impressive for her to come back from that. But she just really didn't offer anything.
Her teammate had it more recently.
Yeah. But yeah, she didn't offer anything at all, did she? I can't honestly think of any Sophia moments other than round one, was it Austria, where she had that collision with, I can't remember.
Mandit? No, Smoiler.
I think it was Smoiler. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and then we all remember the Twitter meltdown over that when it was declared a racing incident.
Yes.
Despite Sophia, if a penalty was given, it would have been on Sophia.
Look, you want to see people do well, and
you want to see drivers have personality and be vocal. But there's a difference between having a personality and being vocal and how Sophia was this season.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair point. And yeah, just there isn't really much to say other than her season was a disappointment.
And she should have had points looking at how Campos had that car this year.
I would agree with that one. All right.
Galetta, unfortunately, I think with his money, he's going to get an F2 seat with a struggling team.
Potentially, but he has been truly awful. The only positive he has been is that he hasn't been dangerously awful. He's just been, I think is probably the best way to describe it. Yeah.
Just like, how many laps down did he finish this time?
Yeah, that's literally, he literally is, he's almost like on a driving experience.
Hey, Mark, I'm just going to destroy your comments for you. It was Robert Kubica last year. I'm sorry, I've just ruined your comments, haven't I?
It was the car, Mark. It was the car.
Car or this, car or that.
Oh, dear. Right, look. Deleda just... He was just a passenger, wasn't he? He was just a passenger in a race that just drove him by.
He messed up the same corner 3 times. You'll remember that in Spain. 1, 2, 3, all at the same corner. Practice, qualifying, and then the race.
It's impressive. It's a nice collection. I hope he got a little award for it.
Little plaque saying Deleda's favourite spot.
Yeah, I think they should.
How do you stop up the same corner more than once?
Pardon?
How do you stop up the same corner more than once?
I don't know. You'll have to ask Deleda in terms of that front. But yeah, look, Deleda in our kind of F3 season preview was the butt of many jokes of you and Josh in terms of how bad he will be. And, I suppose the only positive of the situation is he lived up to reputation and he was bad. I really do hope that we don't see him any higher than an F3 championship, but you do not know these things because motorsport is an expensive sport and, money can talk and can provide opportunity.
I've always said, and probably even more true about what some fans are going to say, money talks while talent walks.
That's very true. And I suppose that brings into another a talent who, he didn't have a bad season, but I suppose he didn't really do as much as I thought he would, and that was Richard Verschoor.
Odd, he should have done better. Everyone expected him to do better. so promising. Yet he just didn't seem to get as comfortable in the team as normal.
No, and that is unusual because obviously being a Dutch driver in a Dutch team, you think naturally communication wouldn't be an issue, or they'd have all the resources behind. But although he finished higher in the championship with more consistent performances, Bent Viska was definitely the driver who would have stood out more for me. Vishaw had a bit of a anomalous season to me. I think he was
Hmm.
there obviously, but I didn't really notice him.
No, you really didn't. You
And
didn't at all.
that's
Honestly, with MP, I was right about one of their drivers,
obviously
about one of them being about one of them being a dunner.
absolutely you were correct on that one. But yeah, look, it was disappointing for Richard because
And for
it was
sure, I was wrong about him.
it was a it was a big chance to prove that Red Bull were wrong,
Yeah.
and he was worthy of it, and it just hasn't worked out. And look, I think he naturally will go into sports car racing. I think he's talented enough to be a professional racing driver.
Hmm.
But I think,
I can see him in F2, being honest.
yeah,
He
I
seems to have
was
the
going to
money.
say that. I don't think he has the budget for it, and he hasn't said anything jumping out loud unless MP Motorsport want to stick.
I think MP would stick him in the F2 car, honestly. Seems
Mm,
well liked by the team.
yeah, he may be, but I don't know if someone with a bigger budget comes along and they prefer to put them in.
True, true.
Because
So,
Felipe,
anyway,
I believe, is going to have another season there probably, and someone might replace
surely
Massa.
not this year. Surely he has to go.
You think so? Although we'll be drifting into an F2 chat with certainly on that one. But I suppose to round off, probably Genza, the team that you and Josh slaughtered in the F3 season preview, actually secured a podium this year in
Yes,
Matera.
at the one track where even F3 cars struggled to overtake.
But he got a top 10 finish, and he also managed to get a third place finish in that round. His best result of the season, equal
His
top
only result of the season.
power.
His only result of the season.
Yes,
He got stupidly lucky. Any other track, nah.
but he got an opportunity, and sometimes that is what motorsport is. It is about getting an opportunity and taking it, and you have to give credit to Nannini. Even on a track that is difficult to overtake in, he still managed to get that performance.
Even a broken clock is right twice a day.
You are correct, Mark. You are correct. But I think that probably rounds up everyone that we've probably wanted to speak about in the F3 season review. Just out of our current grid, obviously we've spoken about Oscar Piastri and Teo Pichert, and I think Logan as well will be given an opportunity in F2. Do you see anyone else progressing to Formula 2 out of our current grid?
Not particularly, no.
Do you think Liam Lawson might finally be given an opportunity at that level? It probably doesn't really make sense because he has the super license points, but
He does. So it's a matter of I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think it's only going to be if anyone, I think it's going to be the top two, maybe the top three if Sargent can find a team that's interested in him.
obviously there will be naturally some progressing anyway. But I suppose on that regards, if you
What I
don't,
will say is, I think next year we're going to see the least amount of shake-up in the F2 grid. There is such talent there, and so few it's going in F1.
that's what I was going to say in terms of it. It feels naturally that probably with F2, I don't see too many changes happen there, other than obviously the natural victor of the series. Where if it's Mick Schumacher, then that's easy because he didn't need much excuse to be in Formula One, and if he wins the championship, then rightly he deserves to be in Formula One.
He does. Shall we wrap it up there?
I think we should wrap it up there, mate. So thank you very much for coming on for this F3 season review. It's been good to kind of chat and relive what was a brilliant F3 season. Congratulations to
stellar predictions.
It was just so many kind of standout races from this year. Was absolutely.
I'll send you over my crystal ball for your F1 season predictions, Mr. Sebastian Vettel, WDC.
Thank you very much for bringing me up there. I was being hopeful. It just might be World Driver Championship with Aston. I was giving him his dream of a championship with Ferrari, Mark. What more could you want from me? But yeah, that's it from us today, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this F3 season review. It's been good kind of reliving what was a great season. Like I said, congratulations to Oscar Piastri doing it. Teo Pacher proving that he is the prodigal talent that we think he is. Yeah, well, obviously you were his main lover, but you certainly did convince me that he was a talented guy, and he certainly did everything about that to convince me as well. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see where some of those experienced guys go as well. But let us know in the comments below your guys' favourite thoughts from the F3 seasons, your thoughts of the season as a whole, your kind of standout performance, your guys who disappointed you. It'd be brilliant to see. But yeah, thanks again, Mark, for coming on.
No problem.
And, well, that's it from us. So for now, you F1 fans, keep racing.